Hello, world, how are you? We have some Q&A to do. I hope you're doing fine, cause it's Q&A time again. Hello, and welcome to another Friday Night Live Q&A. And this is a great platform where you can ask your freshwater keeping aquarium fish and or shrimp questions, whatever it has to do with freshwater aquariums. Now, I don't know. I know many of you guys are really partial to the Friday Night Live Q&A, but I wish I could just kind of come in here a little more naturally than trying to sing that Q&A song out. And it sucks when you get stuck to where people expect that. And sometimes if you don't do that, that could be the thing that just turns them off from watching you. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about that. I personally would just kind of like to come in a little more naturally than having to try to sing that for you guys every time. I've been doing that for years. We've been doing these Friday Night Live Q&As for, shoot, I don't know how long now. 4 years, 5 years, long, long time, which we've learned a lot through these. Great place to just learn about aquariums. If you're getting into the aquarium hobby, you're really digging it. There's so many rabbit holes in this hobby that you can get into within just this Q&A from myself and the amazing people that are in here every Friday night. And hello to all you guys. I see you guys in there saying hello. I wish I could tell you guys all personally, but it would take too long, and I do not want to leave somebody out because then again, don't want to create that division or make somebody feel a little less. Marcus Edgerton says, "Can you explain what your TDS is and how often you change your water?" So my TDS is total dissolved solids. And when it goes with TDS, this is a question that gets asked a lot. And the reason why it gets asked a lot is because it is more important than any of your other parameters, in my opinion, actually, in my experience. I don't want to just say my opinion because I've tested a lot of these parameters. I've been through the gauntlet of doing this, testing that, all that kind of stuff. And when it comes down to the nitty gritty, if you're testing your TDS, that'll tell you mostly of what you need to know about your water. It's good to kind of figure out certain things like your iron content, which I don't think matters so much. I think that's more for the plants. That could be more helpful for your fertilization schedule, stuff like that. pH is kind of good to know, but you should only test your pH after your water is settled, because if you put a lot of oxygenation into your aquarium after you first put the water in there, or as you do a water change, it can lead you on a goose chase. So when it comes to really finding out your water hardness, TDS is where it's at, and that's your total dissolved solids. And it goes off of a scale where 200 is neutral, and anything underneath that is acidic, anything above that is alkalytic. And that'll kind of give you a scale of what you're working with, what kind of water you have, and then also what kind of fish and types that you should lean towards. A lot of fish, if you're around 200, the neutral areas are even softly acidic or softly or slightly alkalytic. Most fish, they don't care. They'll do good in that you can pretty much keep dang near any fish that's not like full brackish or full marine or something. And those, when we're just talking about freshwater. So TDS is a really good thing to measure if you really want to know your water. And knowing your water is the most important part of keeping an aquarium, is knowing your water and what type of water you have. And make sure that it's dechlorinated and that it's biologically sound. And then when it comes to water changes, I wish I could be more on a weekly or bi-weekly schedule where I was doing water changes mostly for like fish growth. Some tanks I don't really wish that in because the plants would just be too bonkers for me. And right now they hardly ever get water changes. They've been top offs for over about a year now, mostly. Some have had a few water changes for odd reasons here and there. Even some of them I got that look like they should have water changes, but then the plants and everything else is just thriving in it. So it's like, well, I mean, if it ain't broke, nothing's dying. Tyler Fuston, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. I really appreciate that, Tyler, and your continued support for so long. Says, I need some bluegrass guppies. When will they be available? Just a rough estimate, and just be more natural when starting the live. Oh man, thanks. I appreciate that. And yeah, I will probably end up doing that more than likely. And I know some people have been following me for a long time. I don't know. Hopefully they won't care because they've been following me long enough that hopefully that wouldn't teeter them elsewhere. But anyways, the bluegrass guppies, they will probably be ready. I don't know, probably be a couple to a few months if they have babies. So the thing about these guppies is they send them to you when like they're pretty much at their prime like age. They don't have a whole lot of life in them. Guppies live for like 1 to 3 years. When you get them at that massive size and those females are that big, they're already close to the year mark. I don't know. They say that they're only so many months old, but at that size, I don't know. It's kind of hard to believe. But who knows? I mean, they are quite quality. So I have had the dark dragon half moons. They've been popping out babies like crazy. The rest have just been kind of not really doing much, but they are now into the fish room, into a bigger tank, and hopefully we'll start seeing babies of them soon. But thank you so much, Tyler. And Carla M, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. I really appreciate that, Carla. Carla is awesome. She's been hanging out here with us for a long time, reminding us to hit the like button. She's a doll for doing that all the time. Thank you so much, Carla, for the support and everything you do. All your comments and just I see you guys in the comments. Like I go through all my comments on my channel, on my videos. So if there's ever anything you want to say or maybe question or whatever, always feel free to about in my videos because I like that. Lets me know that I'm just not like talking to walls here and I'm engaging with people and makes it more social. Aquatic Habitats Cove says, how's the outdoor tank farm doing? Anything get in there yet? So far, so good. I haven't had to worry about much. I think it's because I have gone with fish that you can't really see in there, and it's rained quite a bit, like just throughout the week, like every day or every other day. At least once it's been raining, if not multiple times. And it hasn't over flooded. It actually still kind of needs a little top off, but I haven't topped it off because it has been evaporating some with the humidity pulling. But with that big oak tree that hangs over it, I don't get much flooding. I know a lot of people were worried about the fry flowing out of those outdoor tanks, but if I didn't have that tree, I would definitely try to put like an umbrella or maybe try to create an overflow system. With my old tubs, what I did with those Sterilite tubs I used, they already had a hole in them just from the handles. So the handles were my actual overflow that way. And then with my big wishbone pond that I did at the old house, I just drilled out a hole and stuck a foam through it. And that was my overflow. So there's multiple ways you can go about that. But since I had a tree to cover it, the rain hits the tree, goes to the edges and tips of it for the most part. Some rain gets in, but not the big mass like it would if it was just out. Excuse me, out in the open. They are starting to turn green water, and the algae has transitioned and trying to grow in a whole nother form. So I'll have to deal with that at some point. I already kind of want to move what I have out there around too, because I got a few rice fish from Japan that I need to get out there as well. And let's see, Spec V Turbo says, Lucas, are you getting all grown up on us? No more song. I would say I'm always growing up, so I'll always be young at heart, but I'll always be growing I don't know. I've been doing it for so long, and I don't know. Just I would feel more comfortable doing it more natural too. I do it for you guys. This is a big reason why I do it. I do it for you guys. Ashes, have you ever raised bred bettas? So I have, and I used to get some of the craziest bettas. The thing with bettas is what they'll throw, what you'll get out of them, and it's a kind of a labor of love to breed out a bunch of them and really get them going right. I do have some breeding videos in my playlist where it shows the whole thing. The one that was my full breeding betta video had some cross rays, which I don't even know if they even offer those anymore. I haven't seen them around for a long time, but they were these cross ray bettas. They were absolutely gorgeous. I spent like $500 on those 7 color Nemos, like way back in the day when they first came out. Same with the pandas, and I bred them. But the only thing about breeding bettas is it is rough. Like they're beautiful fish, but they are fighting fish, and that is male and female. And like it's not just male and male. Sometimes when it comes to breeding, it doesn't go so well. And it can be disheartening for some, especially for those who have that heart into their pet like it's really easy to do. Is kind of the reason why I don't breed bettas anymore. Is because of that. Now I don't want to say everybody's different, and I think bettas still definitely need to be bred. So I don't want to detour people from breeding bettas because of how aggressive it can be with mating and just nature of them. But it just wasn't for me. It wasn't for me as far there's so many other fish I could breed. Plus, there's so many other people and just farms and whatnot breeding bettas. Bettas are all over the place. They're huge. They're in Petco. They're all over the place. You guys know me. I like to breed the fish that you don't normally Petco. And yes, Chris Trapp, bettas are little savages. They can be. They can be. And granted, I've kept bettas in community tanks. They make great community pets and mates and whatnot. And you can do males and females and stuff like that. It's just when you get them into those tight space quarters, when you're trying to get the eggs to go, they've only got so much water and just hormones get to flying when they're breeding. It's a whole lot different. A whole lot different. But in a community, not so bad. Tyler C88 says, any advice on raising unknown mouth breeding betta fry? It's a grow out for my local club. They didn't specify the species. So with those mouth brooding type of bettas, those are actually pretty cool. I haven't personally bred them out myself, but I know many people who have. And with those, I guess you just set them and kind of let them do their things. They're one of those ones where you would want to give them like a 20 long, or I think a 20 long would probably be one of the best setups for breeding a mouth brooding betta. And just give them their space, make it natural, put leaf litter in there, feed them live foods, feed them multiple times a day, make sure they're getting enough to eat. And when they start brooding and keeping the fish in their mouth, you'll see them eating less. So be careful when you're feeding to watch your tank, make sure you don't overfeed it when they are in a breeding mode. So if you see them not eating, that's going to be your signal and trigger that, oh, I think they're breeding. So don't go messing with them. Do not go messing with them. Let them do their thing naturally. It's just kind of like cichlids, the small tanganicans, the other mouth brooders. My Julia chromis right now, same situation where they're all mouth brooders. And one of the fish can eat quite a bit, and they'll just let their fish out after a while to eat, but sometimes it can take some time. But that initial time where you see them stop eating, then that's the sign like, oh, I think something good's happening. And they do like darker lit tanks too. if the light's too bright, could inhibit him from breeding as much. That goes with a lot of fish, actually, I've been learning. Hence why in my fish room, a lot of my tanks right now are very ambient. What do you think about giving your Vallisneria a haircut? I personally, not a big fan. Not a big fan. It looks good for like that time I got cut, and then things, the rest of the parts start dying off, and then algae starts eating off of it. I think you're better off just letting it grow naturally, because it's always going to want to extend out towards that point. And if you want that more Vallisneria look in an area, you just have to escape your tanks towards that look, which can be difficult, especially with Vallisneria and dwarf sage, because eventually you'll want to intertwine with like the way that plants like to battle each other. One will start growing into the other. But the dwarf sage will stay much shorter, which will give you that more cut val look. But if you're keeping up on the maintenance and taking care of the leaves and stuff that could be coming out, then I would say it's not a big deal. Just try to keep up with your debris coming out of the tank. That way it doesn't feed all that algae. And I'm trying to get all to these questions, but man, it's not always easiest to do. I think I've been doing it, but like Laner 420. Oh, there's a question, but it wasn't at the very end. Which I guess if you say a statement afterwards. But luckily I saw it either way. It says, do you think double-eared guppies are harder to keep or breed than regular guppies? I know there are so many different strains, it's tough to have a fully right answer. So when it comes to consistency as far as getting the Dumbo ear out of the strain isn't always promised, but it has been getting better amongst many lines. Besides that, I would say it shouldn't be much more harder than any other. And it just happens with some strains, like my dark half moon um, guppies. They're popping out babies like crazy. They've already had 2 full go arounds since I've got them, and everybody else hasn't had any. So sometimes there's just those strains of guppies that just go bananas, and sometimes there's ones that just take a while to marinate or something. I don't know. I've learned that a lot with guppies through years and years. And Craig, I'm on that water. Always good to see you in here. Still doing the good agua. Get that Florida aquifer water. It's hard not to. It's good for you. Bill Meyer says, LRB, wouldn't shrimp help with all algae? Not all algae. Matter of fact, a lot of my shrimp tanks get a ton of algae in it. And it's mostly because I overfeed and they poop a lot. And just not enough plants in there and way too much light on them. Like, I know I'm doing all the wrong things on the tanks. Or all the right things to grow algae. But they will not keep up with algae at all. And you should not rely on your shrimp to eat algae either, because they need protein in their diet. If you really want your shrimp to get to popping and get to going, you need to put some protein into their diet. They can't just live off of algae. So I would not rely on shrimp to be any sort of help for algae, unless it was a mono shrimp. And a mono shrimp can help a lot with algae, but they won't help 100%. Aquatic Habitats Co. The best thing to do with algae is approach it from more than likely too much light and too much nutrients and not enough plants. And if you could fix any of those 3 problems and or multiples, all of them, then boom. Even though no matter what you do, eventually some algae will show where you'll have to do some maintenance at some point. Not always, and it may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, it may not be a week, but eventually it will show. Unless you just don't have enough light. Like my ambient lit tanks, they've been awesome about not growing any algae, but I got super low light plants in them. It's actually been working really well. It's a rack that I haven't even shown you guys yet. Which there's a couple racks, few racks. There's 3, 4 new racks in here that I haven't shown you guys, I don't think. So I need to get to making videos. Which has been tough because there's so many like half done projects around here that need done and organizing. But anyways, I'm here for you guys. Aquatic Habitats Cove says, it's awesome you have your neighbor into aquariums now. What are they keeping to start out with? So I first gave them some CPDs. Those were the first fish I gave them. Because I was like, they were already in a bag. And somehow it got messed up with like some order. And I had 3 left in a bag. And I was like, well, if you can keep these alive, then you should be able to keep anything else alive over there. And he did that as his tester fish, which he's been talking with me here and there on kind of what to do. Matter of fact, his whole fish room looks like what my cichlid rack was going to look like, which is just yard sand and rock from the yards that we got here. And he's got guppies, he's got rice fish going, and some gold dust mollies. I think that's about it for right now. Oh, and some shrimp, and then all kinds of plants. But some of you guys were asking for a live with him, and I did ask him, and he said that he may be doing that. And I do think that he will be starting a channel. Well, he says he's really gung ho. Like he wants to do this. So I think he's got the name for it now. He's finally figured it out. But he's also got to work. So, I mean, working and trying to be a creator and do fish stuff, like it's not, there's only so much time in a day here. Let's see. But yeah, super awesome that he's into it. It's so fun to have somebody share that passion and enthusiasm with that lives next door. My other neighbors, they thought it was cool, but it wasn't like they were busy doing other stuff. I mean, to everybody their own, which I love my neighbors. Spec V Turbo says, Lucas, do a vote later when we hit max people. Sing the song, yes or no. But see, if you do a vote, you're dividing it. If I do the vote, I'm going to divide it either way. So everybody that said yes, be like, oh, it's majority, mob rule. Right? D from Brooklyn, what's up, dude? Been a while. Says, if you could only breed one, what's your favorite? Oh, bro, how are you going to do that for me? He says, I'm loving Goodeids now. Goodeids are good. They're Goodeiid. I'd have to go to killifish. If I could only breed one type, I would probably have to pick killifish right now, just because they need the most attention in the hobby when it comes to breeding. Many are probably tired of me talking about them, but I can never talk about them enough and how important it is for people to get into breeding killifish and how many killifish are really out there and need spotlit, because just like guppies and bettas, some of them live longer than they do. So there's a big misconception that they don't live long. The nothos, yeah, they don't live as long, but hit up the American Killifish Association. Look at all the different kinds of killies they have from all over. Oh my God, it's ridiculous. Check out some of my killifish videos that'll show you the types and what's at these types of shows. Just type in LRB killifish types. You will get some craziest, some of the most beautiful, colorful fish that you have ever seen in your life. And they're really cool, really personal too. They're like little water puppies. So if I had to go with one, which is really hard for me to ever pick that, like I usually would be like, I don't know if I could, but yeah, Achilles if I really had to. If I really had to. Ash just says, thanks for the info about your betta experience. I'm doing it as we speak right now. Just for fun. Really going for killies and advice for killie breeding. So once again, check out the American Killifish Association. Not sure where you're at. There's other places like the what is it? The Waco, the Wisconsin Killifish organization. There's other ones around the United States here and there where you can find killifish groups. But one of the biggest things, if you can find it, is Ed Warner's Killifish Breeding book. Really good book. Has a lot of like the hatch times and different methods of breeding the types of killies. And then also, if you ever question hatch time when it comes to breeding killifish, if you look at the eggs and you got them on the peat moss and their eyes start popping up in the eggs, that is when it tells you that they are ready for water and you can add the water and hatch them. And some killifish, you can hatch them without having in the dry season, but it's just a lot easier for some to do it with the whole dry season peat moss method, which I got videos of that. It's been a while since I've had any updated ones, but I've got some old videos from when YouTube wasn't so pizzazzy. It was more about like the real raw footage of breeding blue gularis and how I picked off their eggs off the spawning mops into peat moss and all that stuff. But Kiwis, I'm glad to hear that you're into them, Ashes. And you know, killie breeding and betta breeding, behavioral wise, is kind of similar too, to where you do have to watch them. Usually best done in 10 gallons, in my opinion. Aquatic Habitats Cove says, are you going to have another weekday live earlier in the evening? They are awesome. So when I can and when I get the ability to, I try to do it my best. But like this week, I've just I had to put the phone, like as much content as been pumping out. Like I know some of you guys just see the live, some of you guys just see the long form, some of you guys see the shorts. And just trying to juggle day-to-day life and family, everything else, and you know, I try to squeeze them in where I can, especially on Wednesdays. And I do plan on trying to do. Right now, I've got a lot of projects that kind of just need tightened up, finished up, and just taken care of, and things around the house to get things in order. Because I mean, we have 40 acres. There's a lot to do with what all we've got going on here, and I don't want to rattle them all off. But I can't wait till a lot of that is done and more content. I will be coming out with lots more content, having more availability to you guys here coming in the future. Especially when that fry rack. I think when that fry rack gets done, that'll take a big relief off me. Just knowing how much work is in that, especially since I want to do my water change system. And let's see. Oh, I can't see that. What's that say? Chris Secker, thank you so much for the $2 super chat, Chris. In the support saying live chat. I am in live chat. I am in live chat. I thought I saw another one. Marcus Edgerton, did I? Thank you for that dollar super chat. Hope I did. All right, I think I'm caught up there. Rat Ride Rob, sorry I didn't see this earlier, says, what meds I need to cure white fungus on the mouth of my black angelfish? So what causes that white fungus on the mouth of your angelfish? And this happens to rainbow fish a lot, or any type of fish that likes to spar. What they'll do is they'll sit there and spar with each other, and then they kind of tear their lips up, and then they'll kind of get this white looking, it'll look like fungus, but it's not really so much fungus. Now if it starts toughen up to where it's like tough, like bushy kind of looking, then maybe it may be fungus. But if not, it's just this white kind of like a callus. You know how callus on our skin, it turns white and kind of falls off, and they just cycle their lips through that way. It just grows out just like our skin grows out, our nails grow out. Matter of fact, I've been watching this. I don't know if you guys can see it. Let me see. There's this hole in my thumb, It's like here, I smashed it with the drill. I've been watching this blood blister just grow up and out of my thumb. There's actually 2 layers of thumbnail. There's a layer of thumbnail underneath the hole that is in my thumbnail right now. It's been wild to watch just reproduce and come out. But I would not stress that. I would not start medicating for that. I would look more at aggressions and things you could do to maybe help comfort them and take aggression off of them. Maybe they may be to a point to where they're a pair in their breeding. I don't know how many fish you have in there, but all things to think about when trying to help that. But it's nothing to freak out about. And Christopher Secker, thank you again for another $2 super chat. Says, I'm late to the party, but made it. Glad you could make it, my bud. Glad you could make it. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Chris Trapp says, Lucas, how has the Florida weather been? Most of the country has been 100 all week. So, yeah, it's been super hot here for like the whole last month. It's been in the feels like 100s. So between that and the rain, I haven't been able to get much done towards the fry rack. So it's kind of thrown me off on like my project planning and performing and all that stuff. So I don't know. It's just been hot. I can't wait till it's over. Cannot wait till it's over. Johnny Best says, any new updates on the pygmy rainbow fish? I've got like a couple of these, but I mean, they're still so tiny since I can't really focus on water changes and doing things properly with the fish as far as breeding. That's another thing while I'm trying to juggle all this stuff. And that's the biggest part, is getting things organized to where that's more fluid for everything. All right, Bill Messer says, LB, I have some of your albino galaxy guppies from Eric Bodrock. When is it safe to put the fry rack? I didn't know he had my albino galaxy guppies. I need some of those. Says, when is it safe to put the fry back in with the adults presently in a breeder box? I would say as soon as like they're not big enough to eat, so they don't really fit into their mouths. But then again, if you're feeding them multiple times a day, then you don't have to worry about it so much. As far as them predating, give them top coverage, bottom coverage, feed them twice a day, decent amount, and should be good. Friend 422, when are the blue-green guppies for sale? Whenever they get to popping out babies. Just waiting on them, hoping. Thomas G, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Reminded me for the live chat, which the last couple I did forget to get into the live chat. So I appreciate you guys reminding me, and Thomas G always for the support. Henry Figaro says, I have always wondered, how do you connect all your lights together? So, matter of fact, I actually emailed this company about this, and it's a big part of the market that I think that could be tapped, at least for a lighting company, is these are more shop lights, and they're meant to be, you can piggyback them to where they plug in, they daisy chain to each other, whatever you want to call it, and it's pretty sweet. That's how I do it. So they'll plug into each other. There's shop lights. The only problem is they don't have more of the red, green, blue spectrum. They have more of just the white and blue. So that just grows a ton of algae for me. And I wish they would have the red, green, and blue. So I emailed them hoping that they'll actually like listen to it. I was like, man, I'll sell a bunch of them for you if that helps. I did it in more of a professional manner, but in a nutshell, that's what I said. Talking to y'all. So I feel like I could talk to y'all like that. I ain't gotta be like, oh, dirt, 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 dirt. You know what I mean? Diego Dominguez says, how are your caradinas doing in terms of reproduction and how much your TDS is in those tanks? So my TDS is around 160. They have been breeding for me. They've been doing good. The biggest key with them breeding for me, though, is with putting driftwood in them to the point where they've always got something to eat. Caradinas, I think they're just so ravenous. They're always so hungry. So I think a lot of people will underfeed Caradina. I wish I could do more water changes. I think that would give them more rates for babies, but I mean, they're doing good. They're breeding. The fancy tigers haven't bred yet, but they're still in there. They're still alive. The ones that I got from Aquatic Expo. And hoping the shadow pandas will breed out soon. The tigers have been breeding out. And I'm actually about to set up some more shrimp tanks when I get a chance. My members are actually going to be getting a video about a lot of the projects I need to be tying up and all that, which will be out tomorrow. And then also tomorrow for everybody, special treat for you guys, the most aquarium keeping information of freshwater aquariums in 1 hour. Pretty much. It's my hour talk, the one I gave at the Aquatic Expo, that talks about the full spill of like keeping aquariums and so many tips and tidbits for you guys, all of you guys. That's just kind of in an hour, all balled up. It's the one I give to the clubs. It's the one that I've been talking around the whole country with. It's finally going to be available to all you guys. So I'm super excited about that. And big shout out to Illuma Aqua, who's on Instagram. He's the one that videoed it and edited it for me and did an amazing job. Like, I need to know what kind of camera that guy uses. Actually, one of these days I do plan on. I've got some decent cameras, especially when I go on fish room tours. Some of you guys remember my old fish room tours where I've got like that movie camera and stuff. One day we'll be breaking all that kind of stuff out. It's just whenever you're on the go, on the fly, trying to build all this stuff and be a content creator, it's easier for me to just have my phone on me. It's more accessible instead of just dropping what I'm doing, running to go set scene, all this other stuff. So the phone is best for the running and gunning when it comes to videos. Oop, exit. Sorry if I missed anybody's questions. I'm trying to do my best to power speed read scroll here. Friday, maybe on Friday's mix in, welcome with Mr. Placo. Yeah, baby, be badass. Yeah. Oh, gotcha. This mosquito trying to eat me. Yeah, maybe one day I'll make that chasing dwarf neon rainbows video to complement the Mr. Placo video. I mean, shoot, yeah, once this is settled, because once I hit that fry rack, that's kind of at the point where, okay, I've got plenty enough tanks to be doing stuff, and then I can start using my creative energy into more stuff like that. Like, there's a ton of stuff I've got to create for you guys. It's just getting the time to do it. And I'm always working towards it. So God let me breathe the next day. That's all I gotta ask. Chris Trapp says, Lee, is it morning on your side of the pond? Oh, he's talking to Lee. Got me with that question mark. Totally Ron Burgundy that. Which half the people probably don't know who Ron Burgundy is these days. How many people do you guys know who Ron Burgundy is? You know, the Anchorman. Classic. Diego Dominguez says, how are your... Oh, I already read that one. Okay. I'll get back on track here soon. Adams Electric Universe says, different 7 and neutral pH. What would you consider balance for KH and GH for a community tank with tetras and live bears together? A balance, I would say, as long as you've got some of either or. The best way to figure that out, so your TDS will actually be a combination of that KH and GH mostly. You can get separate kits for your KH and GH. But I would say as long as you got either or and or both into your water column, that's good enough for your tetras and light bearers. And that 7 neutral pHs, I mean, that could swing either way. So that's really also rating per hydrogen. I know it says per hardness, but it's also per hydrogen that it reads. If you look into the pool and the pH pens and how they describe how they use those pH pens, it's different from how we describe how we use those pH pens in the aquarium hobby. So when it comes to hardness, you really want to look at your TDS. And then that will give you an idea of how acidic or how alkalytic your water really is. Let's see, Rondell Lazone says, why am I having such bad luck with assassin snails? Also, my boyfriend feels for you and the blood blister. Yeah, sorry for your boyfriend, because I know the feeling. But assassin snails, good to feed them other snails and have meaty diets for them. They are carnivore kind of feeders. If you really want to get them breeding more heavily, then you kind of got to feed them snails. They've got to have something to hunt and eat. Do that where you can have like a separate snail tank where you could do like, if you're into snails, I mean, if you like assassin snails and you want them to breed, and there's so many other snails like mystery snails and then MTS snails, the Malaysian trumpet snail, and then ram's horn snails, pond snails. Ram's horns are really popular. I sell those personally on my website. And then there's different colors of them, like blues, pinks, browns, and albinos. But you can have a separate tank where you just feed them heavy. And then you've always got some of those snails ready to feed your assassins. And then you just kind of work the cycles and systems that way. Or you can look into giving them like bloodworm or something. I don't know. Anybody else got any other tips besides that? That's usually the main thing is the diet. Lady Diane, she has a question. She says, so I have a question. Can we all meet at Joe's Crab Shack for dinner on Saturday night at Daytona? I mean, you got me at crab legs. I'm on some crab legs. We can definitely talk about that. I know there will be so many people trying to pull me to dinner on that Saturday. It's like the most popular night. But you're definitely talking my talk. And it will be awesome to see you there. And she's talking about the Aquashella that's in Daytona coming up here in November. Which I still ain't got my passes for. But I'm sure they'll let me in. Kind of crazy if they didn't. I have to set it off. Or I'd just go to Joe's Crab Shack with Diane. They don't let me in. Any Episto breeding? So I don't breed Epistos personally. There's a lot of people. Epistos got super popular, so I kind of stepped away from them. Like the Laticara, Bucklecoughs, and some of those other smaller cichlids, which are just kind of like Epistos too. I did get into those quite a bit. But with the Pistos, I know how to braid them all. I did when, like, years and years ago when they were becoming more popular, but then they become so many more popular that it just didn't need my attention so much. That and I fell down the rainbow fish rabbit hole hardcore. But keep them at that, and they require higher temperatures too for breeding, and also softer water. And at the time, I was dealing with a lot of hard water. So you want more soft acidic water, leaf litter, and also anytime you can do live food to help trigger with breeding, give them a flat surface like the bottom of a clay pot or a flat rock, somewhere that they can lay their eggs comfortably. And then you're going to want it in like the 80 to 84 to 86 range. 20 gallons are great for them. The 20-gallon longs is probably the best tank to breed them in my opinion. And the eggs. The soft water is mostly for the eggs, not so much the fish. They can tolerate either or, but the eggs really require that soft water to hatch. If not, then the eggs have troubles getting through the hard calcification of harder water. Flood City Fish Keepers says, do you feed any specific commercial food to your crystal reds, or what do you recommend for the natural way? So I feed everything touch color tropical granules, which is about as commercial as it gets, and or some legit fish food. If you guys haven't heard of that, it's legit, but nothing extra or special. The most natural, what they get naturally through my system, though, they do get the plant decaying material as well as driftwood, and the driftwood actually plays probably the biggest role in my success with them right now, is because they have something constantly to graze on other to themselves. And they are smart enough, I think, to know that they can only breed out towards how much food source they have within their ecosystem. And I think that plays a big role into how much they breed out. And oxygenation does help too, because I know I don't use filters or oxygenation or any of that, but you can keep more in a space with oxygenation than you can without. But the only thing that runs a risk to is overbreeding, and I've had it happen. I don't know, it seems like they know their limits more when it's more no water change, no filter. Like they can sense their environment more than they can if you're changing it and there's air in it. But I mean, you guys have seen my 40-gallon breeders of my neocaradinas. This is kind of speculation with the caradinas because they just still haven't bred out a ton like the neocaradinas have. But you've seen my 40 gallons where there's just hundreds and hundreds in there. Speaking of which, I keep adding the shrimp to the website and thinking that they're getting close, but I did update that. LRBAquatics.com if you guys were looking for those awesome homebred stuff. Fish, shrimp. Got the black mollies on there. Thomas G, he knows who Anchorman is. Stay classy. M&C Aquatics says, Lucas, you ever bred emperor tetras? I have. Mostly just colony breeding though. I haven't really target bred them, where I tried to collect the eggs and do it that way. I mean, using the method with the breeder basket and floats, like I do my CPDs, would be a good way to do the emperor tetras. But you can community breed them if you got enough plants and big enough space that they will breed, and some will just survive within the colony. I should say colony breed, not community breed. Let's see. Scrolling. Petco now selling full price tank 75 gallon, $260. 40 gallon, $120. Oh, 20 gallon, $55. Oof. This is why I always try to hit those sales when I can, because you just never know. You never know. Like with these freight, I don't know if you guys been hearing about with the freight liners and then UPS. There's been a lot of striking. I think they're trying to take out some drivers and put in automation and other stuff, and it's just, that's why I try to get that stuff when I can, because tomorrow is not always promised for everything, you know. Get it while you can. Marcus Edgerton says, "What's the best TDS for CPD?" They do prefer it more on the softer side. I have bred them in either or, like from 400 to, I would say, 100. I would not go under 100 for a lot of fish, and depending on if they were specific to that sort of acidic condition, tannin, blackwater type of water. And would not go much more over like 400, 500. But with the CPDs, anything neutral is good for pretty much every fish. I love Lamp. Outside and aquatics, he gets it. Oh, I love Lamp. I love Carpet. SC says, "Do you know anything about feeding freshwater clams recipes?" So I know like some people do like milk, where they'll get like a dropper of milk and kind of let that marinate in their tank, which you're just kind of adding like proteins for them to filter in, and or you could use green water cultures as well. But yeah, that's why I stay away from clams. I actually talk about clams a bit in my talk that I give, that I'm giving, that I'm putting out tomorrow for you guys, because a lot of people will buy clams and they will work good for a while to clean up your tank, but once that tank's cleaned up, it's like, what now? What do you do with them? And if they die, then it can just really be a big problem for your aquarium. But I actually talk about those in the talk, which the video will be labeled "The Most Aquarium Information You Can Get in 1 Hour," or something along those lines. And watch that video. It'll talk. If any of you guys, oh well, you guys are on here because you're into aquariums, but I think you guys will like to talk. And it's just not me talking either. You can like watch videos. There's videos embedded. There's fonts, text. It's done nicely. So another big shout out to Bloom Aqua. Ron Harriman says, "I got some of your yellow shrimp from you about 8 months ago. My TDS has increased from 250 to around 350. They have bred out well. How high can I let the TDS get?" You can let it get up to like 500 to 700. I don't think it will get up much past that. And as the shrimp grow out in colony too, they can consume some of that hardness as well, because it can calcify, mineralize towards the surfaces of things, and they can actually graze and eat off that, and that actually is what helps with their molts and stuff too. Chris Trapp says, "No new tanks till the next sale at these prices." Yeah, I don't blame you. Which, good thing about those sales is they do them like 4 times a year at least. I think they figured out how they can sell a lot of tanks by doing that. M&C Aquatics asks, "How many tanks you got now?" I'm not really sure, but it's close to a couple hundred or so. There's a bit of them going and growing. Just More Fish, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Says, "Hey LRB, hope all is doing well." It is doing well. I've been feeling a little overwhelmed with all my to-dos, but that doesn't really get it done. So I've just been sticking on all these to-dos, as much as I know like there wasn't a whole lot of production this week towards content, and which I will have content for you guys regardless. But it's nice to get all these kind of small things done. My spaces reorganizes, because when I have so much to do and I plan my projects out, what I'll do is there's certain things that I will let collect up, like my empty tetracolor tropical granule containers, just like my peanut containers, because I'm eating peanuts all the time, just trying to keep the protein and energy in me to keep going and all that. It's all like mind hacking, energy hacking, and stuff like that. But just getting that stuff cleaned up, getting those sorts of things where I've got notes and receipts and all kinds of stuff just stacked here and there, and just getting those kind of spaces cleared and cleaned up, that has been nice to just get knocked off the list and feel better about my space and feel better about what's ahead of me and the mountain that I've got to climb, and just the ass I got to kick, and it's going to be great. So I'm excited. I'm excited for it all. Everything that's been happening, I can never complain because you guys have helped me live my dream and then much more. So I can never thank you guys enough for all that. So thank you, all of you guys, all of you. Let's see. Ron Harryman. Oh, I already read that one. Should have known as I saw the name. You never know. Could have asked another. Philip Avila says, my pseudomugul Gertrudiae started laying eggs. I've never raised any before. I was wondering if you had any tips on raising them. Thank you. So with the eggs, if possible, separate them from the parents because they will predate as soon as they pretty much hatch. Sometimes they won't. If you keep them fed enough, they will let the babies stick around. But it can be tricky if you don't feed them early enough in the day and or late towards the evening. So if you could separate the eggs from the babies, then you can give them their own space, no filter. They don't need a filter. They don't need anything special. What will happen is the eggs will hatch out. Put it in the dirtiest tank you got. Do not put it in a sterile tank. Dirtier the tank, better if you have an extra one. And if you don't have an extra tank, you can get yourself a little plastic container or tub or container, whatever you want to do. If you got a filter, squeeze in the mulm in that. If you don't have a filter, use your old aquarium water and then just put the eggs in there. They'll end up growing up and they will come right to the surface, which is really nice about rainbow fish, is the fry come right up to the surface. And after, like, I just feed them the dusting off my fingers just a little bit, even when they're the tiniest, because it'll either feed the microorganisms within that ecosystem and or the babies. And then try to keep them towards the warmer side if possible, which means I would say 76 up to 84, 86 degrees. If you can get towards a warmer temperature, you can have better success rate and more survival rate from keeping them warmer. And yeah, I think that would get them up to where you need to go, and they will start eating off that powdery food off your fingers and stuff, the dustings. And they'll grow up off the different size granules and or food you feed them from there. Well, thank you, Johnny Best. I would appreciate that. I would appreciate that. Let's see. Well, come on, finger word. Brandy Rutledge, thank you so much, Brandy, for the $5 super chat. Really appreciate that. Hope you're doing well. And always great to see you in here. And I need to get back to your email. I saw your email. I did finish reading it. I just haven't had time to reply. Because I always feel like, I don't know, I'm not always the best with a lot of words all the time. But I don't know. Our connection, I feel like I owe you a better rebuttal or reply than just some short, you know. But I hope you're doing well, and thank you so much for that super chat. What in the hell is that? Hold on. Oh, what's up, buddy? Did you just end your live stream? No, I didn't end my live stream. I was trying to figure out what the shining light was out there. It's Wesley. Oh, he's right here. We're about at the hour mark, though. It's been a while since you guys have seen Wesley. He used to come into my live streams all the time. What's up, buddy? Hi. What an honor to have you. Here, have a seat. Wanna have a seat? We'll finish this up.
Okay.
Yeah, what are you coming out for? Are you gonna ask me stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, hey, buddy.
Hi.
Hi. So we're looking at here, and yeah, I thought it was thunder too. I could see your flashlight that was flashing over there, because you must have been running with it. Were you running? It was going all crazy. Oh, I was wondering what was going on out there. That's funny. All right, so thank you, Brandy, for the super chat, and we are at the hour mark, and I guess Wesley was needing me for something, so I don't know. Should we hop off here?
Why not?
You got stuff. You want to say anything to him before we hop off here?
Bye.
Bye. All right, so I think we're gonna hop off here and spend a little family time. I still got to make the members video. I will have that out for you guys here this Saturday, as well as the big video, the hour video of the most aquarium information for freshwater keeping that you can get. So that'll be a great video for all you guys. Anyways, I appreciate all your guys' support, and thank you so much. Until next time, everybody, peace. Have a great one. Do 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 do. Do it, isn't it?